Hey friends, thanks for tuning in. So I'm excited about this interview today. I'm with somebody who I've been following for a couple of years now. We've been trying to meet up, and finally today I get to meet my special guest. She is a runner, an ultra runner, duathlete, a triathlete, all around amazing person and athlete. I want to welcome my special guest, Laura Kline.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
So Laura, I know we've been communicating for a while, and first of all, it's really good to meet you.
You too.
I've been following you, and you're knocking out some serious miles, doing all kinds of running. And I know, well, first of all, you've been an inspiration to me.
Oh, thanks.
I watch your posts, I watch what you do. It's like, man, this is just amazing. Because we were talking off camera, if I could choose one exercise, and those of you who know me know that if I could choose one and only one exercise to do the rest of my life, it would be running. That's my total zen. You know, I'm not fast, but I love it. So Laura has a lot of experience running. She's doing some really big races. You just did 50K last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You have other big ones coming up.
Yes.
A lot of traveling. So what we're going to talk about today is basically fuel for the run. So we'll be talking about nutrition. And we're also going to talk about, towards the end, we'll talk about some of the training that she's been doing. So let's talk, actually before we get into any of that, I'd love to get, if you could share with the viewers just a little bit about your background, like how you got into running.
Well, I've always been competitive
Okay.
and always enjoyed sports and being active, ever since I was, knee high.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it just kind of carried over naturally into my adult life, and I lived in Southern California for a few years, and it was just, running was kind of contagious out there. Everybody was doing it. The weather was always perfect for it. Races everywhere, every weekend, so I finally just hopped into one, not really knowing what I was doing, what I was in for, and didn't have a great time, but I was definitely hooked right away.
That was a 5K you said, right?
5K, yeah.
But you did it, you enjoyed it, you got hooked.
hmm
And that, about when was that?
That was 2004.
Okay.
So 12
Great,
years
so
ago
it's
now.
12 years. Awesome. So, and you did other things before. You were doing other sports, right?
And field hockey was my main sport. I
Okay.
did some boxing, softball, basketball.
And then did you find, I'm just curious, in the Southern Cal lifestyle, was it generally pretty active from what my experience there
Definitely.
a few times?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice environment to be in. That's cool. So, tell us a little bit about the racing you've been doing the past couple years at least, because like I mentioned, I've been following her on Facebook for a couple of years. We've been communicating for at least a year and a half. And, the stars and the moon aligned just right today. This is a spur of the moment thing. We didn't even know until this morning we would do this. But, because our schedules are so busy, but I've been following you, we've been communicating. So you're doing a lot of pretty big races, like some distance, right? And
Yeah.
are some of them trails also?
Yes, the ultra marathons are on the trails, the 50Ks, 50 milers. That's my cutoff for right now, till I get a little bit older.
You did, 50K this past weekend, but the 50 milers, where have you done those? Like,
I've only done one so far, so
Okay.
this will be my second. That was in Ithaca, the Cayuga Trails 50 miler.
oh wow,
So it's a tough course, but a lot of fun.
a lot of hills down there. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. I love trail running too.
Yeah.
I actually prefer that over anything.
Me too now. I used to, I started as a road runner for years, did nothing but road racing, and every once in a while I'd throw a trail race in, like an easier one, or a couple trail runs in my off season, but I was always really nervous to hurt myself running on
Yeah.
trails. And now as I'm older, I find that the trails are, first of all, they're more forgiving to the body. You can get more miles in.
Yeah.
And I just, with stability issues and, things being out of whack for doing this for so long, I think the trails actually help me to run better.
Yeah. that enters an area that I could talk about for hours, but I won't.
Yeah.
But it has to do with the movement efficiency workshops that I teach, and the difference between pavement, concrete, for example, and non-pavement, non-concrete. And it's a pretty complicated area, but I think it's really the reason that I also prefer the trails, even though you have the challenge of tree roots and all kinds. Every step can be a disaster potentially, but also at the same time it can be so much better for you. So but let's move into, because that's another conversation we could maybe have another time. Today I'm really interested to know about your dietary lifestyle. I kind of know what it is, but I want my viewers to know, because I know, you need some fuel for these, right? I mean, you need fuel to get ready for a 50K or even, just a half marathon, full marathon, especially the ultra stuff. What are you doing to fuel up?
Well, I am vegan. I've been vegan for 10 years now.
Okay.
And I think at this point I've got it pretty nailed down. So I really do try to stick to whole foods as much as possible. Staying away from the processed foods, the whole, where do you get your protein, how are you getting enough protein? I actually think that's finally starting to, I'm not hearing that question as much anymore. I think people are finally starting to realize that, one, we don't need as much protein as everybody preaches we do.
Right.
And two, there's protein in everything.
That's a good point. When I was back in school, not that long ago, for nutrition at SU, when you look at the numbers, our society in general eats too much protein. We place too much value on it and not enough on some other things, like, maybe some carbs that come from veggies and plants.
And plants have protein.
Exactly, they do. I know it's so...
It's hard for people to grasp that when it's just pounded into you that you gotta eat animals to get your protein.
I know, it is interesting, that mindset. So, can you just talk a little bit more about, do you have some examples of foods, let's say, that you like to eat, maybe starting a few days before one of those races?
Sure. Again, it's really staying a lot away from processed foods. So, like say this past week leading up to my last 50K, I do sometimes tend to become a creature of habit and kind of focus on one meal and just make it over and over.
Me too.
But I was really big on making a chickpea and kale curry, just sauteing some onion, garlic, kale, coconut milk, curry and turmeric and some chickpeas, and it's a really fulfilling meal. It's got a lot of nutrients. I'm not into carb loading. I'm not super heavy into the carbs of doing pastas and stuff like that. If I do pasta, it's usually a quinoa or a rice pasta, and I'll do quinoa as a grain, rices, but I'm not big into the breads and the bagels and all that stuff.
So in your meal there, you mentioned the curry with kale and chickpeas. So there we have some protein. There we have some carbs, right? And we have a nutrient-dense meal, which is another thing that seems to be lacking in a lot of people's diets, are the actual nutrients because of the processed stuff out there. What I find is interesting is how in fact, I just saw a video of this on YouTube recently. I don't remember the name of the person, but she used to work for a big food marketing firm. She resigned because she said, our whole job is to trick you into think you're eating healthy when you're actually eating 5 different sugars and way too much sugar in this food that we label as organic, for example. So do you find it's ever a challenge? Well, you have a system now. You know what you're doing. It's 10 years vegan. You know what you're doing. Let's go back to the beginning, though, for maybe anyone who's thinking about giving up meat, let's say, and do vegetarian first, or go full, vegan. what challenges did you face?
It's hard to remember back that far.
Or any advice you'd have maybe for anyone who's trying to take steps towards that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, like, for me, it was just like, this is the day I'm going vegan and I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, you just try a meal here or there. But
Mhm.
I think that does work for a lot of people, like the Meatless Mondays. Just kind of experimenting with, you know, instead of putting chicken in this dish, let me put chickpeas in it. Or, you know, just kind of making little swaps. And
So substitute.
and you know, we talked a little bit about all the mock meats that are out there now, and you know, I applaud these companies. I think it's great what they're doing, and you know, they taste great. A lot of them are really good. It's not necessarily my thing because again, it's processed. But I love that it makes it easy for people who don't want to give up the taste of a burger, a taste of chicken, to have this option to swap that into their meals.
Yeah, just made me think about these interviews. We just kind of go with the flow within a very basic format, so we have room for tangents, which I'm about to go on for just 1 minute. The world of veggie burgers, which I find fascinating because a while back I started experimenting, but then when I got back to school, experimenting with different veggie burgers, right? I get back to school and I realized, you know, a lot of these things are filled with really crappy stuff.
Yeah.
Fillers, sugars, chemicals, preservatives, additives. So they're not really all that optimal. So I found it's easier for people to get fooled into thinking they're eating something healthy when really the calories they're ingesting are not all that nutrient dense.
Correct.
Tell me more about, like, what are some examples of, you don't have to name companies, I don't like to be negative on the program here, but types of mock meats that are out there that maybe people should watch out for. Do you have any ideas on that?
Like you said, the veggie burgers, just, you know, if I'm going to buy some, I really look for something that's limited ingredient. Or, you know, like you said, looking for those sugars or those chemicals that you can't pronounce.
Right.
But I just, you know, I see people put those as like the base of their meal, and then they'll slather them in fake cheese, vegan cheese, which vegan cheeses are awesome now. They've come a long way, but it's like, I just don't think it's necessary always when you don't need to make this fake meat the center of your plate. You know, you can fill it with veggies, and it's a much healthier way to go.
So, like, I can say that from my own experience, withdrawing the meat from the diet, I just feel better.
More energy.
Feel better. Oh,
right?
I definitely have more energy. In fact, when I went back and had meat a couple of times, what happened to me is, and I'm sorry, I felt guilty, but I also just didn't feel, I felt sluggish too. You know, so I had a little guilt factor going on for sure, but I also felt really sluggish, and kind of reset me back into, okay, let's stay on track here because I want that energy. Are you let's see, I just had a thought here. Let's come back around to, oh, I know, I wanted to give a shout out too. You're wearing the Strong Hearts shirt.
Yes, Strong Hearts Vegan Power.
So for those of you in the Syracuse, New York area where I'm from, there's an awesome place called Strong Hearts. They have a couple locations. The main one is on Genesee, like a 700 block maybe, near University Ave. And then there's one on the corner of, actually it's in Marshall Square Mall up at SU. And if you want some really good vegan food, I go there often. It's amazing.
And it's one of those places that a lot of non-vegans go to because the food is that good.
True. I can say, yeah, I've taken non-vegans there and they've been impressed. That's part of my ploy when I go out to lunch with people. Try it out. You might like it. That's cool. You're on their team.
Yes.
Tell us about that team.
We started the team a few years ago where we just decided let's get a group of 12 vegans to do a Ragnar, which is a 12-person relay race. You run about 200 miles and kind of take turns and piggyback off each other running from point to point.
That's cool.
So yeah, we were really excited to get this whole vegan team together. And then as people started to see us and the word spread, I won't be at the May race unfortunately, but in May we're going to have 4 teams, which is 48 runners, all vegan. We're going to have 6 drivers, all vegan.
Oh, wow.
8 drivers. So we're growing like crazy.
That is so
People
cool.
all over the U.S. that are into running and they're into promoting ethical veganism.
That is awesome. Yeah, they're doing really good stuff there. I've never had a bad meal or smoothie or anything there.
My favorite.
Special guest Maisie.
Yes, she's my coach. Speaking of they do some mock stuff there. It's all really good though. But my favorite salad there it's greens and beets and sweet potato and nuts, and it's really good salad. Apples in there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I actually haven't had that one.
Yeah, you gotta try that one.
I'll definitely try that out. Well, let's segue. So I'm just curious.
Sure.
Post-race, any examples of what you're eating for recovery, especially after 50 kilometers or something like that? What are you thinking about when you're doing that? Or after that, food-wise? Yeah, what do you think about food-wise after one of those races?
Again, really my favorite recovery meal is a curry because, there's the anti-inflammatory.
Oh, yeah.
The
Right.
spices are anti-inflammatories. Coconut milk is full of electrolytes. So it's a really good anti-inflammatory meal filling. I do smoothies sometimes. I like to do with beet juice and tart cherry juice and greens, and for me
Awesome.
it's always about doing something that's anti-inflammatory that's going to help me recover super quick.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually hadn't thought about that. I just assume, but that's ridiculous for me to assume everyone knows about inflammation. But the inflammation, I just did a presentation on this for a bunch of high school students. Inflammation is the root or the seed of so many different problems and diseases. It's linked to some big ones out there. And so that's another thing when you stay away from the processed foods, try to eat foods that grow out of the ground that are organic. They're really low on the inflammation index. I don't even know if there is any inflammation from them.
Probably not.
Yeah,
No.
because they don't pop up on the charts.
No.
So, yeah, that's really good, especially after a run like that. You don't want to be eating inflammatory foods.
And that's another reason I'm not like a strict gluten-free person, but I kind of tend towards that direction just because, a lot of gluten can be inflammatory too. So I try to
Definitely.
stay away from, especially the processed breads, stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, I did. I also went gluten-free December of 2014. 2012.
Okay.
So it's over 3 years now. And I'll tell you, that made a huge, enormous difference in how I feel. Just so happens that when I eat gluten, because I've tried a few times, I always get congestion. I was getting sick with bronchitis a lot too. For about 2.5 years, I had 9 bouts with bronchitis. And I haven't had it since. Now, I can't say it's all about the gluten. It could be the fact that I also cleaned up a lot of other areas of my diet. But I can tell you, when I do eat gluten, I pay a price. So I don't eat it hardly ever. Yeah, that's on the inflammation index. That comes in pretty high. Awesome. Yeah, that's great information.
And then you were asking about before my race.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of what I ate the night before my 50K. And then
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I'm usually pretty lucky that when I travel to race, there's a Whole Foods nearby. That's
cool.
definitely my go-to when I'm traveling because they always have the food bars and the salad bars. So I had a big serving of a massaged kale salad that they had prepared.
Cool.
With beets on top of that, and then they had a rice and bean mix, and I bought a whole avocado and just diced that up and put that inside, and that was my night before meal. Because I'm really big on the healthy fats too, so avocado is
Avocado's a great one.
Yeah.
Protein, fats, really good. Gotta have the healthy fats.
Yep.
Right?
Especially as a female.
Well, yeah, seriously, we need to make sure we get the right amount of macros into our system and that they're coming from the right place, the optimal places. That's
And
good. Yeah.
The morning of, I just had 2 bananas and a little packet of almond butter to go with it.
Oh, cool.
That's all I need.
And then you ran 50 kilometers.
And I, had some gels, some chia gels while I ran, and some more almond butter. But
what kind of gel was that?
Huma gel.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I'll have to show them to you there.
Yeah,
pretty good. I prefer to make my own, but if I'm traveling and stuff, it's not always convenient. So.
Because my running is about to increase quite a lot as the weather gets better and I can hit the trails. And I'm going to Colorado next month,
nice.
in Utah, and Oregon.
Oh wow.
Teaching, but I also have some downtime. Gonna run some
yeah.
high altitudes and lots of trails and hills.
I'm going
So
to
gels will be handy.
New Mexico next month for the same, just to go running some trails for a while.
That is so cool. What part of New Mexico?
Santa Fe. Altitude and trails and just relaxing.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So we talked about your veganism, which I think is awesome. We talked about your pre-race ideas for that, just overall what you're eating in general. We talked about post-race. How about we talk just a little bit about your training, the actual training you do. You mentioned off-camera, you're self-coached.
Yes.
It seems to be working really well because you're placing really well in these races. It's so impressive. What do you do?
Well, I train almost every day. Like I had off yesterday, and I took actually Sunday and Monday off just to recover. Although today I feel totally back to normal and ready to go, which is cool. But yeah, I just kind of build. I work out twice a day, every day. So it's, I run and I bike. I'm in the gym doing strength and stability work. So it's really just kind of setting up my week to have these, 2-a-day workouts that feed into one another, give me enough recovery between what I'm doing. I still do speed work on the track, even for these long distances. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
So you vary it up. And I'm just curious on stability, if you don't mind me asking, what are you doing for stability? What types of things?
Everything is one leg at a time. So I do one leg squats with the rear leg elevated on a Bosu ball. I do some VMO dips.
Cool.
I have a little routine that I go through.
Oh, that's good. That's good. A lot of people leave out stability. This seems to be a big one. People go right for the strength and they don't build a stable foundation first, and then, they're a little bit more susceptible to injury that way.
It's definitely my weakness, and it's the hardest for me. I love being in the gym and I love doing strength work, but it's hardest for me to fit in, especially when the weather's nice and I just want to be outside. But if I go just 2 weeks without doing it, my body starts to react.
You notice it.
And it's like, all right, something's going to go if I don't get in there and take care of it.
That's a large part of what I teach in my courses around the country. And I have to say that just recently, I had taken a couple weeks and really not done that much. And I really felt it when I started a few days ago, so 6 days ago. I just hit it hard. Oh man, I can never let that long go again without doing these things, because it's, we lose it quickly, but doesn't take that much to maintain it. And I do not want to get injured.
No, I've
won't
been
do that.
I take 17 months off, and it was some of the hardest months of my life. So that would just be terrible. Yeah.
Well, that's great information. So, well, I want to thank you for joining me. It's great to meet you after a couple years here communicating.
Yeah.
So you want
to talk about minimalist, because I'm definitely a minimalist.
We can talk right now about
Okay.
that. Let's talk. We're going to talk about shoes for a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk, because
Yes.
I teach about this stuff.
Yes, I know.
And I want to learn where you're coming from on this.
I'm very much into the minimalist. I definitely race in zero drop. Some of my training is sometimes 2 millimeters, but
What shoes are you wearing on the races?
Topo. I wear Topo. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm running for them this year.
Oh, great. That's so cool.
Yeah, I had stress fractures in my pelvis a few years ago, and up until that point, I was one of those. I can run in anything, and basically whatever was given to me, I would run in it. And I was racing in race flats and absolutely loved them, but did all my training in these built-up, clunky shoes. And after I had all that time off from my injury and just reading and researching, and I was like, I bet it would benefit me a lot to get out of these built-up shoes and be more minimalist and strengthen. Yes. I'm all about the chain, and it starts at your feet.
It totally does. And of course, I could go on for a day and a half about this, because that's how long my workshops are. Courtesy of Dr. Emily Splickle, who I have the great honor of teaching for at Evidence-Based Fitness Academy. And I'm going to leave the camera to say that when I introduce this shoe, it's the anti-minimal. It is the Reebok. But I say that because one thing I've learned is when I'm on the trails, I can go really low drop. My Achilles is okay because my range of motion in the ankle and all dorsiflexion, I have the range of motion I need, and my gait has improved so much. However, I still weigh 200 pounds, and hitting the pavement, especially for longer distances, I can't even do like a Nike 5.0 right now or 4.0 without really feeling it after 5-6 miles. So for longer distance, I've got to do that. Plus, I'm going to be walking in New York City a lot today and tomorrow. I've got cushion. But what I think is really cool is that you recognized the built-up shoes actually are a disadvantage.
You just throw everything off. And
your whole perception of energy, ground reaction forces, that gets skewed because the shoe takes a lot of it for you.
It just puts you in an unnatural gait.
Plus, technically speaking, you're entering a large nerve environment. So, your small nerves, especially the plantar fascia, and plantar skin, I should say, and plantar fascia, and that your plantar skin is highly dense with small nerve sensory receptors, and those babies are going to fire before the large nerves. So, getting that cushion out of there is so important. And I feel guilty when I wear these, even though I love them in a way, like a walking contradiction. But the pavement, we even teach this in the class. There's a time and place for some cushion. And I know where it is for me. But when I'm out on the trails, man, we're dropping it down. And it just makes for such a, better movement efficiency. Take in energy better, release it better. My pace improves, and it's just better for us. That's
I ran
cool.
a 50K road race earlier this year.
Right?
No, those aren't mine.
Okay.
These are, I think these, don't remember what the drop is on these, but these are a pair, this is a 2 millimeter.
Oh, yeah.
So I raced in a pair similar to these this weekend, so they were 2 millimeter, but I did my 50K road race this year in zero drops on pavement.
Did you really? No. Oh, really? Wow, good for you.
And I found now that for me, casually, I can't stand to wear, even what you wear to walk around.
I know.
Because my body just doesn't want that anymore. It wants to be close to the ground as possible.
And that brings up another point too. So this is another area that I'm working on. So we're going all into an area I didn't expect, but because I love this so much and she understands it, this is great. I know, and this interview is about you, not me, but I'll just talk about me for 1 minute.
No, I love hearing it because I love the
Just for 1 minute, I'll talk about me. So basically, what I'm realizing as I learn more from Dr. Emily and people who surround her is I just need to be training more. I think I probably need to work more on deceleration training, eccentric training, because I think that as I reduced my activity over the winter, especially running, I I lost some of what I had. I didn't stop by any means. I did more than probably most people would do, but not nearly what I was doing. So, and also stopped, I was really busy and I had a lot of excuses, kept my weight down, but I lost some muscle. I think I lost power. I lost the ability to load energy as well as I was last fall or last summer. And so my goal, I'm working on this with a couple of clients of mine too, is to train in a way so that I can not feel like I need those on the pavement when I'm running 10 miles. I don't want to be in a 12 millimeter for 12 miles or 10 miles or whatever. So that's my goal. So I think the minimalist shoes get a bad rap a lot of times, but it also comes with, generally speaking, not understanding how we do load energy, what optimal energy loading and releasing it really is, what a good gait pattern is, what cushion does to us that we don't even know, how it can hurt us. So,
and to me, it's kind of the same as the veganism. Minimalism they get a bad rap. So does veganism when it comes to athletics sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like to break all those standards now. I'm a minimalist and I'm vegan.
It just makes life easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's funny, I just saw a commercial last night on TV for, I won't say the name of the company because I don't bash anyone, but I'll just say that it was for an insert and how it will reduce shock by 40%. So, but you want to feel it though. You want you
need to.
You at least work yourself towards, not away from the ability to load energy from the ground. You want to not work away from it. It's just going to make it worse down the road, but
And it's like the food industry, they're feeding you that information. You're like, okay, that's what I do. And same with what you eat. We're fed from the food industry what we should be eating. And
that marketing person who quit her job because she felt guilty, I'm proud of her.
Nice.
She got tired of lying to people. So, yeah, that's really cool. So, Topo, nice shoes, and you have zero drop.
Great, yeah. My race shoes are zero drop, so.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, again, thank you. I mean, I'm glad we went into that too, because I think I almost feel like it'd be remiss if we didn't. I originally thought we'd talk nutrition, fuel, recovery, training plan. But like I tell people, the one reason that I got into this, became so interested in movement efficiency, probably more than anything, is because quickly after I became a trainer a few years ago, I saw that people had trouble moving, or they'd start training programs, get injured, fall off for months and months, and then start up again, get injured because they never fixed the problem because they didn't know what it was. And one thing I know is if you can't move well, you will not train well.
No.
So if you don't eat well, you won't train well either.
True.
It just can't last. And the shoes are a big part of that too.
Yes.
So awesome.
Nice.
This was fun.
Yes, it was. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I'm glad the stars and the moon aligned just right, because you are really busy, and we finally get to connect. This is really cool. Literally this morning, I woke up, there was a message from her. Great, 1 hour. I can make this. We have this 1 hour window. It was perfect. So thanks again.
Thank you.
So, and do you have a website?
Yes, it's laurajkline.com.
Great. And I know that I've been on
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm everywhere.
Yes. Okay. So be sure to check. I'll have a link on the screen here. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, just go to laurajkline.com. And this was awesome. Cool. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, folks. I hope that you learned something. Remember, you want to be fueling your body with food that's real. Like, I call it clean eating. Right?
Whole food, clean eating.
Whole food. Eat stuff that's real. It's not processed. And just stay active. Stay active. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always contact me through the website too. So thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.